Hi, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to show you how to start and stop RAC database. Okay, we need to understand first how we are going to shut down our standalone database and how we are going to start and stop the RAC database. What is the difference? First, we need to understand the difference between standalone and RAC database. For that, let me show you the differences and then we can jump into this session. Suppose this is my standalone DB, SD, standalone DB. And this is my RAC DB. So DB1 and DB server 2. We can say here only we have DB0. We can say this is standalone database. This is RAC database. First, we need to understand the server, right? This is a server. Standalone database means it is single database, single instance. So first, in this server, we should have operating system. Anyway, we are not going to touch this. This operating system portion is taken care by the Linux or Unix admins or whatever the operating system we are using, that OS team will take care of this. Leave about this thing. On top of this operating system, we are going to install the database software, DB software. DB software. So this software installed by ourselves like DBA. On top of this database software, we need to install or configure our DB database. This is our database, DB. So if you want to shut down the database, means you are not going to shut down this portion. This is like a physical files on the server. We are not going to touch this one, this database configuration. But whatever the software we have installed on this operating system, we are going to shut down and start up this portion only. This portion we are going to shut down. This we call it as Oracle binaries, Oracle home. For these binaries, software, background processes, we name it as an instance. So we are going to start and stop the Oracle database instance, not the original database. Database means CRD files. We are not going to do that. Okay, to stop and start this one, we are using startup command. Startup to start up the DB, shutdown, SHUT or SHUT DOWN, anything you can use. So in this way, we are going to handle it. This is right only. So and then if you want to start the listener processes on standalone database, we can use lsnrctl command. lsnrctl status start stop. This command we can use and start the network services. If anyone want to connect to this database and they want to perform the operations, listeners should be up and running. This is the way we are going to start up the services and shut down the services. This is the sequence, guys. Start up, okay, then start the listener. If you want to shut down, stop the listener and shut down the database. That is the order. Okay. What is the difference in RAC database? This is our RAC database. See, first in RAC database, we required minimum 2 nodes. Then only we call it as a RAC. Okay. Not only RAC, high availability purpose. RAC is mainly for high availability purpose and the performance improvement purpose. Okay. Here we have 2 servers is there, database servers, server DB1 server, DB2 server. Both the servers operating system should be there. OS needs to be installed. So as we discussed, this is not our job. Leave about this part and install the software on top of this DB software. Okay, generally we did it here. DB software we have installed here. This portion DB software installed. I have given some space here in between DB software and operating system. This portion we are going to install the cluster software that is called grid. In this portion, we are going to install in between DB and operating system. We are going to install the grid software. Both the nodes, we should have to install grid here and here. So on top of this grid software, okay, once the grid is installed, and then we need to install the database software. To install the grid, we can use different user. To install the database software, we are going to use different user. For database installation, we are using Oracle is the OS user. For grid installation, we are using grid user. You can name it any name. For in my lab, I'm using To install this cluster or grid software, I used grid user. To install the database software, I used Oracle. Here we don't have a grid right here. That's where here it is the cluster. Why we need to use and all, that is a different scenario where we can discuss. There we can discuss about the why we need to this cluster software, what is the cluster and all. But as of now, I'm just briefing about this architecture of this one, how the RAC database. On top of this database software, we are going to install the DB. Node 1 I have installed. This is the database software, not the software, database only. This is database software. Okay, DB software. So here we have installed the software, DB software grid operating system. Here we have installed operating system grid and database software, but we are not going to configure the DB here. So if you are going to configure the DB here, it means that is individual database only. But in RAC, one database, multiple instances, we can access the single database. That we call it as a RAC. If in a case this instance has been shut down, or this server has been abruptly dropped, or server power outage is there, at that time users can able to access this database. Okay, this database will not sit on this server, it is on shared server generally. Okay, shared. So from this node we can able to access this database, this node, all the CRD files, your password files, control redo log files, everything is on shared. Okay, this shared file system accessed from this server and this server. If you are using multi nodes, suppose if you have another two nodes, so DB3, DB4, in case this instance database will be shared in a shared location, this also. So 4 node, this we call it as a 4 node architecture, RAC environment. So all the nodes, they can able to access the single database. They are going to share the single database in all the 4 nodes. High availability will be there. Suppose high availability means if it is shut it down, the DB remains available from 3 nodes. Even though if it is shut down 2 nodes, the DB again, we can from the 2 nodes, DB3 and DB4, we can able to access. Okay guys, leave about this part, but we can discuss it. So in this scenario, how we are going to shut down? Okay, here we have two extra components, right? Grid is, not only two, one extra component. Grid is extra component and DB is same. Here also we have a database and here also we have a database. Here. So if you want to shut down, first you need to shut down the DB. In RAC, DB shut, we need to stop. Then grid services, we need to stop. If you want to start, first reverse order. If you want to stop in this way, DB. If you want to start in this way, first you need to start the grid, then you need to start the DB. If you want to stop, first you need to stop the database and then grid. In this order, we need to stop it. And where is the listener? Listener services will take care as part of this DB start and start. If you want to stop the database instance, okay, as I said, we are not going to stop and start. There is no point or there is no what I can say command, or there is no need, okay, to stop the database. We are stop the database is nothing but stop the instance only. Instance is having the memory components and background processes. Those we are going to stop it. Clear? If you want to stop only this instance, we can do that as well. If you want to stop both the instance at one go, that is also we can do it from one node. No need to connect to this node, and we need to stop here also. If you want to stop individually, that is possible. If you want to stop combinedly, if you have 4 nodes also, we can stop it from one node. We can start it from one node. So that is the only difference in a standalone and RAC database. Okay, let's get started now. See here, these are all the background commands where we are going to check the services. Let me show you here. This 106, I'll show you, change this. I'll make it a green color for this is my one node database, primary database. 107, it is another database. I can make it red color. So I have 2 nodes. So here RACS 1 is my primary node. RACS 2 is my secondary node. So I'm going to handle to start and stop my database. Okay, I'll keep it here. 106, 107. So let us go by one, how the status will be. PS-EF pipe grep. This is the OS user. This is not required. Instead of this command, we can use PS-fu $user command. Okay. This will show you all the processes which are running on this node. All the processes, including grid and Oracle, everything, whatever, in only $user, it means only Oracle processes. What are all the services running on this node using this Oracle user? It is going to show that processes. So these are all my background processes on node 1. All are the background processes. And this is my node 1 related to services. Okay. And also we have another command where we can able to find this background process will show you whether this ASM instance is up and running or not on this node 1 host name. It will show you this. This is my RAC's node 1. It means primary node. On this primary node, my cluster services are running. And also my database services are running. This is my SID. This is my ASM instance. Okay, cluster level ASM instance is up and running means we can able to access the cluster services. And also we have one more command. This will show you the daemons. This will especially show all the daemons. This 9 daemons should be up and running. If you are unable to see any one of this daemon, your cluster service is not running properly. So as part of that architecture, we are going to learn about Event Manager daemon, Oracle High Availability Service daemon, Oracle Cluster Service daemon, Oracle Cluster Ready Service daemon. These are all the mandatory daemons apart from the background processes. Normal database, we are going to talk about the background processes. Okay, in a cluster level, we are going to talk about these daemons. If these daemons is up and running, your cluster service is going to healthy, and also it is going to up and running the same way. So in this way, we need to check. As of now, on my node 1, all the services, database services, background processes, and daemons are up and running. Instances, ASM instance and database instances up and running. And also we can see our instance is running or not. To connect to the SQL prompt also, we can able to find it. Otherwise, we can use srvctl status database -d. What is our database name? RACDB. So in this way also, we are going to check our RAC's node 1 instance 1 is up and running. RACDB2 instance 2, it is running on node 2. That is also up and running. We have another way we can check. Connect to SQL prompt and query the select this one. So here my database name is this, and it is read write mode, and instance name is this. Similarly, we can check on the node 2 also. Let me connect to node 2. This is my node 2, RACS2, node 2, RACS database, and instance is RACSDB2. Here instance name is RACSDB1. Only the instance level, it is going to differentiate. If you want to see the PS-EF pipe grep, S1 or P1 background process, see here, ASM instance 2, RACSDB instance 2. Here, ASM instance 1, RACSDB instance 1. That is the difference. If you are using multiple instances, more than one instance, you have to distinguish or differentiate the instance names with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. So if you want to stop only RACSDB2 instance and RACSDB1 will up and running, that we can do that. Okay, that is we can say as instance start and stop, single instance. When we are going to do this kind of activities, if you want to do the patching on the RAC environments, one node will be up and running, another node we are going to shut it down, means this instance we are going to stop, and then we are going to apply the patch on this node. Once this node patch is completed, and we need to start the services, and then we can stop this node and we can apply the patch on this node, and we can make it start up this node. What will happen if you want to apply the patches on the RAC environment? We can do online patching. Online patching is nothing but One node will be available, another node we are going to shut it down. Okay, rolling mode. We can say rolling mode. If you want to apply the patches on rolling mode, we can do, that is possible. That's where it is high available. At any cost, one instance will be available. Okay, guys. So as of now, I checked it. The database is up and running on the both the nodes. I checked it. So now how we are going to stop these services? We'll go and check one by one. Stop the database. This two commands, any one of that command you can use in real time. I'm talking about the real time. In real time, if you want to use, mostly you can go with this command. Why? Because some of the services which are running keep on running on the transaction until unless the transaction is completed, that user session is come out of that session, the DB will not go shut down. That's where as part of shutdown immediate and startup and shutdown session, we talk about this command will do normal shutdown. This command will do shutdown immediate. Compared to this shutdown command, it will be quicker if you want to stop your database. But in my demo session, we can use this one because we are not using much users, like 1 or 2 sessions we have opened. We are using that only. But in real time, you can use this command to stop your database. Even if you can do that shutdown immediate command, you can do that as well, but it is not recommended. Why? Because that SRVCTL will start and stop the listener services and also the database services as well. Okay. Let me show you the command. As of now, our database is up and running, right? Okay, first I'll show you that and then we can go ahead. First, check the status of the DB on both the nodes. SRVCTL start status. Both the nodes DB is running. So now we are going to stop the database by using SRVCTL stop database -d, our database name immediately. It will stop the database on both the nodes. Here and here, both the nodes. If you want to see the S1 process, as of now, RACDB is not there. See here, that is shut it down. Still, some of the services is going on. Once it is completely came out, we concluded as our database services has been shut it down properly. Only we are stopping the database services, guys. As part of this architecture, we are going to stop the first on DB services, these services on both the nodes. These services, okay, this one and this one we are going to stop. Yeah, done. Status. Check the status. SRVCTL status, check it. See, now it is not running on both the nodes. So as of now, we have stopped this part on both the nodes. This part is shut it down. Then what we need to do? Cluster services. How we are going to do this cluster services? We can use CRSCTL command to, for that we need to connect it to root user. Okay, root user, and also we need to set the grid path. Oracle home. So to stop the services, cluster services, we need to go to grid home bin location on both the nodes, or grid services we need to stop on both the nodes, guys. But database services, we can stop it from any one of the node. Only this is the difference. Why? Because we have individually installed the grid, right? Here and there. Database services, we are installed on one node, and also the database services, database is accessing from the both the nodes. But these two services handled single command, SRVCTL command. That is the beauty of this RAC instance. Okay, but grid services you can use. You have to stop it individually. See, by using CRSCTL start and stop commands. I'll show you this. This is the command to stop your cluster services. Before going to stop it, let us query the status of the cluster services on both the nodes. This is our node 1. 106 is our node 1, or RAX1 is our node 1, and RAX2 is our node 2. From grid user, I have connected to grid user. Check the services. See here. Here it is clearly shown. I'll come from the top. Okay, we'll go with one by one. See here, I have connected and I'm trying to check the status of the cluster services. See, these are all the listener services. It's a stable and online. These are all the processes, ONS processes. So you can see this status, whether it is online or offline. Offline means it is not running. Online means it is running. These services are both the nodes, RACs 1 node, RACs 2 node. That is fine. Cluster resources services, those are online. Okay. This service is not running, that is okay. Another service, this one is offline. ASM related, some of the services is not. Why? Because we have two nodes and both the nodes it's up and running, that is fine. Other thing you can leave about it. Listener scan. Scan is online. We have 3 scans listeners we configured, 3 scan listeners online. So we have to check these things, online and offline things. VIP service is also up and running. But here you can see offline, offline. See, what are racsdb.db? Database we have shut it down, right? So it is showing clearly offline. So instance shutdown stable. So we can say it, database is shut it down. Sometimes due to the network issue, our database is going to shut it down. Sometimes. How we are going to find out, we can go and connect to the database services. There we can able to see it. And also we can check from the cluster services level also by using crschtl command. By using this command to check the status. If it is offline, then you can start it again. Okay. This services needs to be start. Then only we can able to start the database services. Okay, clear guys. And also we have another command where we can see the exactly the cluster services. By using this command, we can check status also there. So this also there. Also we can use check CRS also, we can see it. So either you can use this check cluster all services, check CRS command to check all the status of your cluster. And both the nodes we can use the same command. Okay. This is on node 2. I'm checking. If you want to check on node 1, see here our cluster services, cluster CRS online, CSS is online, event manager online. So from one node, it is going to show it both the node status. Okay, now we are going to initiate the shutdown of the cluster. How we are going to stop the cluster? crschtl stop CRS is the command. See here, it is going to stop all the services, high availability services. See, I have initiated the stop command. It is going to stop all the services on node 1. See here, it is showing only node 1. It is not touching node 2 here, right? See here on node 2, it is attempting to start. Node 2, it is not going to stop the services. Only node 1 services is going to stop it. Attempting to stop only on node 1, not on node 2. See here, node 2 is alive. It is not going to start. These are all the node 2 services. For node 1, it is going to stop. If you want to stop the node 2 services, we need to initiate that cluster stop command from the node 2. Let it won't take much time here, but in our real time, it may take 5 to 10 minutes on the servers because the resource is used over there. See here, now everything is stopped on node 1 cluster services. If you want to see the status, check the cluster services. See, cluster services cannot connect to the cluster. So on node 1, we have stopped everything. If you want to see the ps-ef pipe grep pmon or anything, you can see. So it is not running. We can connect it to the Oracle. Here we can see it. ps-ef pipe grep smon background process. Nothing is running on it. Also, we can see daemon.bin here. No cluster daemons has been running. No database server. It is a clean stop. So nothing is running on this server. Let me show you this. So nothing running on this server. So node 1 I have cleanly stopped. On node 2, the services is still running. See here, services are running on node 1. If you want to see the cluster all services online, it is not showing CRS RACs 1, right? Earlier we used the same command, cluster all command. It shows your RAC 1 services and RAC 2, node 1, node 2 services. But now it is shown only RACs 2 services. RACs 1, we have stopped it. That's where I mentioned we need to stop the cluster services in both the nodes. Here we can use stop. That's it. Now it is going to attempt to stop all the RAC 2 node services. See, all the RAC node 2. RAC 1 is not there. Services. Here it is going to include our listener services also, guys. That's where we have to use shutdown startup services. You can use only CRS-CTL for cluster, SRV-CTL for your database services. Don't use shutdown startup commands on RAC environment. Done. If you are using startup or shutdown things, the listener processes and other processes will not able to start. Then users will asked you, I'm unable to connect to the database. You can see database is up and running, but they are unable to start because the listener process and other services will not start. That's where don't use the shutdown and startup commands. You can use SRV-CTL in very, very rare situation. Sometimes if you are trying to use SRV-CTL to stop it, that is not going to shut down your database services because of some processes still holding back on the servers. At that time, you can use shutabot on individual nodes. That or else you can go to the alert log and monitor the which processes is holding or blocking. Those processes you can kill it, and then you can proceed with shutdown and startup process. Okay. Otherwise, no need to touch the startup and shutdown commands in RAC environment. You can use only SRV CTL and CRS CTL for cluster. Then guys, this concludes our RAC database shutdown clearly. Now what we need to do, we need to start the services again. Okay. Let me start the services on node 1 first. Primary node. How I used stop, right? We can use start command. CRS-CTL start CRS is our command to start your services. See, high availability services started. It will take bit time to come up all the services. As of now, it is going to show you this cluster ready services failed. Our event manager cannot communicate it. Wait for some time, and we need to. Why? Because it is backgroundly, it is going to start all the services, CRS services, CSS services, then event manager, other daemons also. ps-ef pipe graph d.bin. This is the important, guys. See, these services needs to come up. Total 9 services should be there. As of now, it is showing 3, 3, 6, 7, 8 services. It is showing. One of the service is missing. That is also going to start. One more service needs to be started. 9 processes should be there. Where is CRS? CRS is not there right here. OCSS is there. OCT is there. CRS is not there. CRS needs to CRS daemon. Yes, it is. That's where. And this is the important daemon. Here it is not there, right? So this daemon should be upcoming. That's where you can note down these daemons and keep it in your notepad or somewhere else. These 9 process mandatorily start. Then only your cluster services is up and running, you can say. Now we can see. Check the status. It is up and running. All the services. We have another command to check the services, right? CRS-CTL. Okay, leave it. CRS-CTL resource. The command, right? Let me get that command. This one. Stat resource -t command. It is not, we have to run it from here. So grid use. See, this service will show you clearly all the daemons and listener process has been started online. That's it. If you want to see ps-f pipegraph smon, ASM instance should be up and running. ASM1 is started. There is no ASM2. On node 2 we need to check. So from node 2 we need to start the services ps-ef pipegraph d.bin services. Nothing is running on it, right? CRS-CTL start CRS. On node 2 I am starting the cluster services. Done. Immediately, how many daemons has been started? 5 daemons has been started. The rest of the 4 needs to be come up. Now 7 daemons. Okay, Oracle cluster service, synchronization service daemons done. Now OCT, SSD. These services came up. And last one, CRSD should come up. Yes, CRSD also came up. Now we can see. Wait for some time. Where is the command? Cluster services, now it is showing on both the nodes, it is online. Okay, let me check ps-ef5 grep s1. Still ASM instance is not up. Acceptor should come up. We'll wait for some more time. Okay, we'll wait for some more time and we can see that. See guys, even though all the demands is up and ending, give some time to start up the services in the background. We should not go rush on this part. See, now it is came up ASM instance. So we have to wait some time. Then automatically the services will come up. If it is not came up, you have to check these daemons. If the cluster is not started, means any one of this daemon is not started, especially any one of this daemon. It means that there is some issue in a cluster level. There you need to debug it one by one. Go to check the cluster logs, alert logs of the database related. Database related things, it is not required. Only check the cluster related logs. Why? Because these are all the cluster services connected to grid, and go to the cluster logs and see which daemon is not started. So according to that, we need to troubleshoot the issue. Mostly this service is, we are getting this service, CRSD will not come up, or events daemons may not come up. Mostly these two services, very, very important daemons. If it is not startup, we need to check one more time. If any process is there, so any process holds, we need to kill those processes and we need to restart the services again freshly. Then obviously it should start. There is no issue. Otherwise, if any binaries is missing, OS level or cluster files has been file permission changes or cluster files missed, at the time we are unable to start it. What we need to do is we have to thoroughly go through all the log files and compare the file system files in between primary and standby. If any file is missing, it is corrupted and all, we can copy the files from the primary to standby server, the cluster files, and we can restart it. That is also possible. But make sure when you are going to do the CPU patching or RU patching on the cluster level, take complete grid software backup, Oracle Home backup, then you can do it. Okay, that is the only one thing. Otherwise, there is no issue at all. So we have successfully started the grid services. Next, what we need to do? See now, RAC's node, all the services is started except the database instance. Let me initiate the database startup from the node 1, or else node 2 I'll start it. Earlier we stopped the database from the node 1, right? Let me start the DB from node 2. srvctl start, leave it. srvctl start database -d, RACDB is my database name. So now I'm going to start the database from the node 2. We can start and stop from any one of that node. So there is no rule like you have to start from here only. Not like that. You can start the DB from any one of that node. We stopped the DB from this node and started from another node. Check the services. Meanwhile, from the node 1 is not running. Check one more time. Now it is going to running. See, once the command is completed successfully, obviously the services is showing. Both the nodes it is running. If you want to confirm back, select name, comma, open underscore mode from VDALA database. See here, it is going to start it. If you want to see the instance name also, STANC name VDALA database, comma, VDALA instance. Underscore name VDALA data STANCA. So primary node RAC DB1, it is running fine. Node 1. From node 2 we can see. We can use the SRV CTL to check the status on node 2 STATA status. It is running. Connected to database, SQL prompt and C. Database is up and running successfully. So in this way, we have to start and stop the services. If you want to see the listener services, see in RAC database, we haven't touched LSNRCTL command. You have to you have to note that point, or you have to observe that point, right? We haven't start the listener services manually. Everything will taken care by the SRV CTL and CRS LSNRCTL status. See, we haven't started this ASM instance and RAXDB2 instances. These services are automatically those started by using those commands. That's where I mentioned don't use shutdown and startup commands in the RAC database. Okay, we have seen the database complete both the nodes, right? We want to see specific instance. We want to stop only node 2. How we are going to do that? Let me show you that by using SRVCTL stop instance -d database name -i instance name command. I have that. Yeah, here it is. We can stop first from the node 2, RAX node 2. We are going to stop the instance. See, as of now, both the nodes are running. So we are going to stop on node 1. SRVCTL stop instance -d, this one. And then once it is stopped, you can see the status also. Okay, if you want to see both the instances, we can use this instance of GV dollar will show you both the instances. Let's see. It should, right? Yeah, let me check. Select instance name from instances or instance. Let me check. GV dollar instance. GV we can mention for the cluster related views. V dollar we can use for standalone views. Okay, that is fine. Describe GV dollar instance. So if you want to see the column names, whatever the columns we are having, we can see these things as well. Okay, select status from select status. Open, instance is open, that is fine. SRVCTL will show it clearly, right? That is fine. So we have stopped the database instance 2. So see, we have stopped only RAC's node 2. Okay, I have stopped only RAC node 2. If you want to start these services, we can use the same SRVCTL start instance command. Also, if you want to stop the cluster services, we can stop on this node. This we already saw, right? Individually, we need to stop the cluster services. That is clear. Now I can show you this, how we are going to start the database from. I'll try to start it from the node 1 of node 2 instance. Let me try to do that. Let me check the status of the instance first. It is not running. Now I'm going to start it. So RAXDB2 is my instance 2 on database server 2, instance 2. It is stopped from this node and I'm trying to start it from node 1. SRVCTL start instance -d. That's where I mentioned if you want to start the services from any one of that node, if you want to stop the services from any one of the node, that is possible. If you want to stop the database, all the databases which are running, all the instances which are running on this node, we can use the command from one node. So RAC node 2 is also starting. Now we can see the status of the DB. See here earlier it is running the RAC node 1 only, it is not running here, but now our both the nodes also running. In this way, we are going to start and stop the RAC databases individually, including the cluster. Okay. Okay, some of the guys will looking for the commands, right? I'll post all these commands in my blog. This is my blog, Engineer GBA. By end of today, I'm going to post all these commands. You can watch these text commands from my blog itself. Okay, with the snapshots, I'll place the snapshots also. And also this video is available on our RAC's Infotech YouTube channel. If you are new to this channel, if you are not subscribed, if it is useful, you can subscribe this channel and also click on the bell icon to get the notifications. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for your time.